you subscribe to Pando? That's so hot.
I'll tell you anything for the right amount of bits.
All right, all right, all right. The Baltrom just spilled his energy drink, but we're going live anyway. That's where he shines, right? Under pressure. So, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And let me give you guys a super short introduction of who we're dealing with today. So, I guess most of you guys are familiar with Baltrom. He is actually, like, he's streaming, obviously, but he's running his own little corp in a small alliance. You're running the alliance, probably, right?
Yeah. But the alliance is kind of gone. There's just a corp left.
It's just one corp.
It's just one corp.
But you're pretty much like known for being a low sec streamer, and yeah, you're running your little alliance. And Phantomite, like, while you actually are the main FC for that alliance, Phantomite is a little bit more capital oriented, I guess. But always,
I'm the assistant FC and sometimes FC.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, it's like typical, like, for someone like you just like the capital part, so you focus on that a little bit. And Baltrom is going to be happy for any engagement when it comes to dreads and stuff like this to have someone, right? And that's probably going to be you then.
Yeah, absolutely. My capital FC title isn't used during our current phase of the alliance, but we expect to be doing that again soon.
Yeah, you're saying that because you just deployed, right? You deployed to I forgot the system name. Enaluri, which is quite, like, it's not far from us. We actually visited you guys the other day, and you blocked us with, like, not blocked us, but you know, I knew coming in against 4 Drogos and like 2-3 Deacons. Like, there's no way we could crack that anyway. But hey, yeah, I did promise you guys I would come visit you guys though.
We slimmed when we deployed. We also slimmed down a lot. We cut down quite heavily on the number of people that we typically have.
Well, in general,
on purpose.
On purpose, because when we came to Black Rise, the decision was like, I just want to have fun in the game, and I realized that running an alliance that wants to do dread bombing and shit, it's really cool when you get that dread brawl, right? And you get these faction battleship brawls like once a month, and you have a good time. But in the other 30 days of the month, you hate life, right? And I decided I kind of don't want to hate life and Eve anymore, so I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna say you can all go and do whatever. I'm gonna do some small gang, you know, because that's more fun, and I'm having more fun at the moment.
Yeah, well,
overall.
It's actually like kind of a coincidence, but I'm actually, the last 2 weeks or so, I focused on like small scale too. I didn't do any kicky fleets for a while because, like, I just needed a break from it. I mean, it has several reasons why I did it. You know, there's more strategic timers. I needed a bit of a break from it, and there was some cleanup happening in the alliance, which I'm like happy about. Finally, we get rid of some, you know, dead weight. Like, not to a level like you guys probably, like trimming down like drastically, but you know, some people.
Interesting the way that we did that. We kind of did it by Bolt taking our corp into a wormhole and just leaving all the other corps by themselves without any orders, and just seeing.
That's a little hardcore. And those corps were unhappy about that, huh?
Well, I mean, they were kind of hoping that I would come and save them, but I didn't. And then we went to Black Rise, and that's it, dude. I told everyone you can come to Black Rise or you don't. But they were already pissed that I left them when I went to the wormhole. So I was like, okay, that way I don't have to kick them and don't feel bad about it, right? So it was kind of a win-win. I'm not even memeing,
it sounds like a dick move to me, though. And like, those guys trusted you. Like, they put their trust in you.
No, Pando, here's the thing. I didn't plan any of it, right? Obviously, I planned nothing. Look, I have 1 point in leadership, and there's people in the Twitch chat saying that's ballsy because I should have 0, right?
Yeah, and it took you half an hour to get your webcam working and to decide whether you wanted the light in your room on or off.
I just don't plan anything. Everything just happens, you know?
Well, it can be quite, like, can be part of the fun, right?
Yeah, it's an adventure, you know? Like, if you plan it, it's more like a holiday.
Yeah, you know what? the main reason why you guys are on today actually is like I wanted you guys on next week technically, but you're already gonna be on a stream at the same time, so it didn't fit for you. Yeah, Phantomite. And the reason why is the timing with the CSM campaign. And actually Baltrom approached me knowing like I had some say in last year's like voting for Init, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then pushing a candidate that I didn't know at the time. I didn't know like who Phantomite was at the time when he poked me, and then like I'm getting poked by some other people too, right? And I quickly looked over your points and stuff like this, but I didn't like dive too deep into it. But then you put out a video. Actually, now thinking about it, I should have maybe played the video right before. It would have been a good move. Maybe I could
play it now.
I could play it at the end. Maybe I have to set it up a bit, I guess. But in that video, which was funny, like
You subscribe to Panda?
at one time,
That's
you
so
actually ask a question in London, and I remember sitting in the audience in London. I was at Eve London too.
Oh yeah.
Sitting next to Brisk, and we were just sitting there chilling, and then there was one bad question after the other, right? Like it always is. It always is like that. The Q&As are always cringe, right? And we were laughing our asses off. And then I remember that one guy coming onto the mic, and he actually asked a sensible question. And I looked to Brisk and said, like, what the fuck? He actually, like, that's actually a good question, right? I didn't know you at the time. I didn't know, like, for a while. But when I saw that video, I was like reminded. I'm like, oh, that's the guy with the good question, right? It's like of all
good question.
exactly of all CCP Q&As ever, right? There was that one guy with a good question, and it was actually you. So I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, I arrived at Eve London with a goal to put CCP on a spot about something that I feel they had just not addressed for 4 years.
And they have been, so if I remember correctly, the question was about subcap and capital. What do you even say?
Interplay, the way they
exactly
behave with each other.
And CCP has been touching on that recently.
Yes.
But like now the question is like, did they touch it enough, right? What do you say?
I very much feel that the changes they've made are brilliant, but I feel like, first of all, these changes are the first in what needs to be a long line of changes to better define the roles of all capital and super capital ships. I'm, even though they are great changes, I'm not going to applaud and express any idea that capitals are now on the way to being fixed, because, as I say, it has been 4 years without doing that. So why should I take the first set of small changes that only address a portion of the problem? I don't know why I should take that as anything to be happy about yet. I will count it towards something to be happy about if more comes, but I aim to be there to influence it happening more.
And I totally get your point, right? So there was actually also in that video there was a clip where Willy actually asks you to just, you know, congratulate the CSM, like obviously him too, right? He's like, whenever he feels like there's a good change, he's, you know, gonna be very vocal about that, of course. But so like he's pushing you to just say like, oh, good job. But like I also get his point there, right? It's a good job. Do it again.
It is a good
I
job.
get it.
But
it's not enough.
You know, if there's a guy out there who goes and just murders a bunch of people, and then one day he helps somebody up and fixes their broken leg, I'm not going to say, yeah, he's good. He's a good guy now. I need to. I got to see a lot more. It's like, okay, this is a good start. What else you got? Not, woo, celebrate, everything's brilliant now.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? What's the next step CCP needs to do then? Right? So we were talking about for those who are listening, we were talking about the capital changes recently. Like especially the fax one is very impactful with the cap booster. But then also supers and titans, they don't really apply to subs all that well anymore, right?
Well, super carriers, I think, are getting into a really good place where their role is getting a lot more narrowly defined by their lack of application now.
So what would that role be?
Fixed yet? Oh, anti-capital. Anti-capital craft. I don't think that they're done fixing super carriers yet. I still feel that capital cap boosters essentially lets them shrug off and ignore a medium or even a large gang. Just so you know, I separate things into solo, small, medium, large, and extra large in terms of gang sizes. I would imagine that an extra large fleet with newts will get rid of any usefulness that a capital cap booster has. But no, the capital cap booster still allows it to pulse capital modules like prop mods, capital newts, keep its hardeners on if it's using any active hardeners, for instance, that kind of thing. So I still think there's a little bit more to go with super carriers.
What about you, Baltrom? You agree?
I don't know. Well, I have very what do you call it? Controversial ideas over how the game should be, right?
Bring it on.
I want to see the galaxy burn. Okay, that's what I kind of want to see, because I think a galaxy on fire is a galaxy that I like to play in, right? So I think the problem with capitals, I mean, first of all, the fix they did is nice and all, but I feel like it was more like a band-aid rather than like an actual balance pass, right? Like limiting it to one cap booster. Like, who actually gives a shit? Let's face it, all right? I don't give a shit, because it's not about one fax. It's about the real problem is everybody now has a dread alt, everybody has a fax alt, everybody maybe has two, people maybe have 2, 3, 4 titans, 2, 3, 4 supers, and the characters for them, right? So the problem is not just like that one fax that now has to manage its cap booster. The problem is like there's just way too many of them, right? And everybody, for at least in low sec, right? I'm a low sec kind of guy, and in low sec, you're very aware of who lives in your direct vicinity and who is able to drop caps on you, who is able to respond to your capitals, yeah. And that means if I drop a fax right now, I know who can dread bomb me and kill me. But this person also knows that he can potentially dread bomb me because there's nobody else around that's big enough to counter dread bomb his gang, right? So I want to have more jump range again. Fuck Phoebe, dude. Make everybody be able to get counter drop from across the map, dude. Like, who actually cares, dude? If your caps die, they die. Isn't that what CCP said is good, dude? More ships exploding. It's fucking amazing, right? And here's the thing, right? If you as a big group now say, ooh, I want to drop 250 dreadnoughts, that's cool. You can do it, right? But it's a big risk. If I, as a solo guy, want to drop my single fax in a hero situation where, as yesterday, we went with 18 dudes into a 300-man local in Kinaka with the plan to just fucking brawl it out, fuck the police, right? And the problem is still, we could get dread bombed, and there would probably nobody be in range to counter dread bomb the group that would be the potential fear factor for us, right? But if they could get dread bombed from all over the place, it is safer for me, actually, as a smaller group, to just say, oh, we can drop 1 or 2 fax, because there's not going to be 100 dreads dropped on us, because it's way too risky, right? So running single caps or fax machines and doing elite PvP plays is much more possible, because counter bombing with dreads in is just much more risky all of a sudden. You can't just like answer everything with like, oh, I guess I got some neutrals in my system, guess I'm going to do some supers about that, because guess what, dude, anybody can be all across the map in no time. So it allows for way more like smaller scale capital escalations. And if you still want to go for that big capital brawl, you can do it. It's just going to be risky.
The thing is, though, if you crank up the jump range that much and you remove fatigue or whatever, you will have that one dominant force again, right? Like we used to have that problem as in it like a lot, because like we used to be not in any coalition, but we were dominated by everyone else around us. Like everyone else could like outblob us basically. If our supers get tackled, anyone can reach us in that time. There's going to be saber spammed and all our supers are dead. So we had a problem. We couldn't even use our supers, right? And because and then that's one factor that pushes all all alliances into coalitions. Then that's happened. That's the original reason why we started joining a coalition in the first place, I think.
And all of the people who want to fly a cap just join the winning side so that they can use their cap. Otherwise, they'll just get dropped by the other side.
I don't know. As I said, I just think that the capital meta is really hard to balance, because it's not just about how do you balance the ship and cap regen, right? For example, I would love to have combat refitting back on fax, right? As a specific role, for example, right? Make fax baseline weaker than they are right now, or I don't know how weak they are currently. I didn't play much fax since the cap booster nerf, right? But kind of make the baseline performance weaker, but allow combat refitting as a specific role that fax can do if there's another fax in range, right? So you can have more performance output by the fax if the player is a dank PvP masterclass kind of person. You know what I mean?
I think that would go hand in hand with removing capital cap boosters and also adjusting faxes to encourage better cap regen on them in their stats. Give them something that allows them to realistically regen cap to run some stuff.
If you compare old triage gameplay to current fax gameplay, back then you had a million refits and you would constantly use them and you would try to do your elite PvP maneuvers and adjust to the situation as it unfolds, right? But currently the way fax gameplay goes is you jump to Sino, you cycle your cap booster, you put reps on target. There's no movement, there's no real module management apart from cycle your reps, right? And I don't know, keep your cap booster on cooldown right now, because or I don't know, cycle it when you want to cycle your fucking reps or whatever. But the amount of input you can do to the fax itself to outplay your enemy is much more minimalized to what it used to be. I feel like I don't think there's a lot of gameplay left anymore.
Akulu in chat points out that CCP have said that combat refitting is not coming back, but I don't, just because CCP have said that doesn't mean that I can't want it, and I can't point out the benefit that it did have in the past and point out the depth that it gave the game in the past.
Yeah, it's always good to talk about it, but yeah, I talked to Rise actually. I had him on for FC chat and actually asked specifically, what about combat refitting? Are we ever going to see it back? And he had actually, so his point was that it's very hard to balance, which I didn't quite understand or agree with.
Just give an exemption to fax so that people can't just refit their
exactly.
max
So
AC to
that was his point. So he said they see the whole fitting part of the game as one essential thing, and then they don't want to suddenly change that rule for one specific ship and then bypass this entire balance, which is fitting. Right?
If all capitals were balanced correctly, then in theory it would be fine to allow all capitals to combat refit and just say it's a capital thing, they can combat refit because they're massive.
Yeah,
it's about balance. If the problem was, for instance, that Max could switch from RTs to autocannons and back again, then solve that rather than just getting rid of something that adds so much depth to the game in other areas.
And you know what? My argument was also, it's not bypassing the fitting. The fitting rules are still the same, right? It's not like you can suddenly fit more, right? You can just refit in the moment, right? So, yeah. It's a little sad that he wasn't, it felt like he wasn't even considering it, because it seems like a nightmare of balance for him. But yeah,
it's not something that people never consider about any kind of reduction in the simple power of fax. They say, oh, how on earth are we meant to rep this 250-man fleet if the fax just die? And the answer that so many people won't consider is
you shouldn't.
Don't support that type of gameplay. If people want to bring 500 people to a fight, why can't we just say don't expect to be able to effectively rep yourself? Why can't we just say that?
Yeah, I mean, a controversial point, I'm not saying I support it 100%, is that, all logi are kind of imbalanced, and you can't really balance it. Because at a
Stop
certain
scaling it up. Stop scaling it up with the
Yeah.
growing empires of evil. The growing empires of evil keep growing.
Yeah, and like, how do you where do you make the cut, right? You have to do it somewhere. You can't just say like, these guys are now invincible, right? It's like it doesn't make any sense. You should always want that trading going on.
Don't make a 250-man full fleet of Titans and Fax effectively reppable. Just don't do it.
Isn't it?
Just don't
that
make
the
it
case?
viable.
I mean, now it is a little bit changed, right? Now you
It is a
can,
little bit changed.
yeah.
With
Yeah.
both the Fax changes to cap boosters and the some time ago change to diminishing returns on number of reps. I get it.
How hard do
But-
those actually kick in? As I think neither Fant and me actively PvP in capital blob warfare, and I mean by capital blob, I don't mean like the low psych blob. I mean the null psych blob with like multiple maxed out capital fleets, right? How bad do you actually feel the diminishing returns on remote reps from Fax on Supers and Titans? Did you actually get into a situation yet where that is felt and where you're like, oh shit, we can't actually hold reps at all on anything?
So that's the thing. I think all the blocks are smart enough to not get into this situation, right? So we haven't seen it.
He'll know what he's talking about. He says past 60 dreads is unwrappable. So
Yeah.
that's probably a pretty good figure there.
So the counter all the null blocks do is it Legacy, Imperium, Pantheon, whoever. The counter to dread bombs like that is sheer kill speed, right? So if you expect a dread bomb that size, you need a shit ton of Titans to get rid of those dreads quickly, right? So if you field 60 dreads, you can kill a Titan technically, right?
Mhm.
But can you kill it quick enough? That's the question. Like, they might just hold him long enough, and then you lose 20 dreads too fast, and then boom, the reps
You might not be. I imagine the situation is you might not be repping it to keep it alive, but you're definitely arresting its death.
Yeah, exactly. And then if it's in half structure and all your dreads are dead, it's in half structure. Like, what are you gonna do, right? So it's more like a DPS race now, right? When it comes to that scale of a dread bomb, and we haven't seen too much of those yet. I think we don't have real data on it, but I think everyone is very aware that
There aren't going to be Titan versus Titan brawls.
not anytime soon. No,
It's not going to happen unless there's an extraordinary series of events of failures of intel and things like that.
Yeah, and then it's not a brawl. Then it's a one-sided affair, most likely, right? So one side fucks up, the other side cleans it up.
So here's the thing, right? Just as going back to, Phoebe changes are bad, okay? Real quick, all right? Just as an idea to think about, okay? Like,
I do differ from Baltrom on some of these views.
Yeah.
okay, my views have nothing to do with what Phantomite thinks or what Phantomite would love to do or push for as a CSM person, okay? I'm just a guy, right? But think about this, right? I've been scouting out 1 million unfueled Sodios in Delph, okay? And I'm talking about player Sotios, okay? Wouldn't it be really cool if, like when they go abandoned with that next patch shit, you completely remove damage cap, right? Like you just blast as much DPS as you want. But at the same time, we also don't have Phoebe jump changes, dude. You spot this shit, you fucking dread bomb in, you Titan bomb in, and you kill like really, I don't know, like big structures. You hurt where it fucking hurts, hit where it hurts and shit. And then suddenly something like BR dash happens because somebody forgot to fuel a fucking station or pay a bill. But it can't happen because you can't get on the other side of the galaxy. Everybody's protected.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, if you remove those jump changes, like I said, it's going to be long term. It's going to be so oppressive. Like, we saw it yesterday on that big timer. You know how many Titans and Supers we moved there, right? It's like, in it alone, we had like 150 Titans or whatever. And, like, you could dominate such a vast area with that. Like, nobody would be able to field any caps whatsoever, right? And it's like we're using, like, you could just compare that to, for example, Shines likes his Geodudes, he calls them. Those are rockers. He's using them only because they have so much jump range, right? And that's already oppressive just from a range perspective. And they're not even that strong. But anyone who then goes and says, like, oh, I want to engage those rockers, you have to be ready too, right? And then we can move caps towards that. Like, it's very oppressive with that range. And, I think maybe it could be an event kind of thing, right? They're doing events all the time now. Like, it's like a blackout kind of experiment, when you call it, or whatever you want to call it, where you could do that maybe for a week or two and then see what happens. But I like long term, it would be the most oppressive thing ever, and it has been, right? It has been.
It has. It has been, right? People were very much oppressed, but wouldn't you say that back then the overall PvP content was still kind of cooler? I felt, at least to me, it was much cooler than it is today. I had more fun back then. I felt it was more interesting,
I feel that the oppressiveness
even though there was
of
oppressive boys.
the oppressiveness of the super capital blob, I don't think that is an issue of the super capital blob itself, the umbrella. I think that's an issue of single regions being able to support entire blocks. It's simply the best option to defend an area that you can reach in a block.
Yeah,
there needs to be good reason. If Imperium is capable of just Delve sustaining all of its economic activity, that's the problem right there. The problem is that they don't need 6, 7, 8 regions to support that many people. If you increase the number of regions massively that you need to support that, then the umbrella either has to be focused in one place only, or it has to be smaller and split up to cover other areas. And I think that's incredibly simple. I think everybody would agree with that.
And I want to say also, like, people always talk about the good old times, right? Not everything was better. Some things were quite good. Right?
Oh yeah, not everything was better, right? And as somebody in Twitch chat pointed out, back then you fought over passive moons, which were not a citadel that would deal 30k DPS to your fucking capitals, and you needed capitals to kind of deal with the situation in the first place. So everything was different, I guess. It's true, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a couple of things in chat there. Somebody says Imperium has a lot more space than Delve. Yes, they do. But it's a comparably small area that is covered effectively by the umbrella, because that's where all of the activity happens, because they don't need to spread out their farmers on those farms and fields that Nick is mentioning there. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with farms and fields. And yes, it was asked for by the null entities. It was not asked for by a lot of people. But the farms and fields, it turns out that you can stack thousands and thousands of simultaneous farmers in one very, very small space, which is coverable by an umbrella, and that's the problem.
Yep, I agree. And so we hold, for example, we have a little bit of a problem. Like, I don't know if I want to call it a problem, but we took space nobody else was too interested in, right? So we have space in Pureblind and Fade and all kinds of, and we have moons everywhere around us, right? And there's no one really contesting it, but now there's like NC and Horde deploying, but it's like into empty space, really, right? Nobody's really living there, and like they can grind some things, but what we essentially just need is just that little, like, it's just 2 constellations in Fountain that we read and mine in, right? And we have all our infrastructure. It's very easy to cover, even though we're spread out, like. So, like, there's not only the problem that there's no need to spread out, but also there's a problem of, like, there's so much room for us to grow that nobody would be contesting, even if we would have to, I feel like. So
I don't blame any large alliance or bloc. I don't blame them for not going to war with each other. What's the point? They've all got everything they need. Of course they don't go to war. There's no scarcity of what they require. I know we're in a mineral scarcity at the moment, but everybody is still capable of supporting themselves in an incredibly small space. It's like having an entire country, except the entire population of your country can fit within the castle walls at the center. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep. And I like, for those who watch like the FC chat every week, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I always say that the actual problem is that we don't have enough players to fill all that space, you know? If we had 10 times the number, we do have enough
players to fill that space. We just need to stop the fields in the very center from being so fertile.
You know what? I don't think I agree. Because, because, like, for example, even if you go to the constellations like that we use within it now, right? It's just two or maybe 3 constellations. Some people do other stuff, obviously, to make ISK. But even for that size of an alliance, it's it's very easy to live off that, and you don't see a shit ton of people there. It's not like packed with people, right? There's still like, if you spread these guys out, they actually use the space. If you spread them out over like a region or two, right?
Yeah.
Then it would be so thin. I don't think that would be, that would be what we would be looking for, right? Like one guy here, one guy there, kind of thing.
Maybe what you're looking for.
It's better than
the size of fights shouldn't be supported by this kind of thing. Maybe if everything was spread a lot thinner everywhere, meaning that defense forces were thinner, attacking forces were thinner as well, it would just mean that there would be a lot more but smaller activity all over the place.
Yeah, maybe.
Got to stop. A lot of people have got to stop thinking from a current numbers point of view. We've got to stop expecting that after everything is fixed and it's a paradise out there, we've got to stop expecting that. We've got to stop trying to support activity for a fleet of 100 people. We've got to stop expecting that that's going to be the optimal thing afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, but that's at the same time though, it is a big part of why people go into nullsec, why people play the game is like big fleets, right? Not everyone is a small scaler, right? Not
big
everyone...
fleets is what would happen during wars and invasions, not during defense.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
obviously, but then so if there was a war to capture that space, then you would probably see a mix. Obviously, we all want more wars. But at the same time, people would then go to me like, "Hey, Panda, why don't you start a war? Like, you can just do that." And yeah, I could.
Why would you?
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
you have to gather. First of all, you have to have the motivation to put in all that effort. People underestimate how much effort that is, right? To start a war, do it proper, then take on that responsibility. All the guys are just sitting at home, and then Willy and the other guys, Willy and Shadu and so on, were on Talking Stations just the other day. I just listened to that today. It was exactly what I just said. Like, you have to go to war. You have to put in all that work, and it's just not worth it, right? And they also said they're not willing to come back to the game because they're not willing to put in all that time and effort, right? So,
because what do they get for it?
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be almost a grudge kind of thing, and it's very hard to find.
It's very sad that the only reason to go to war is on invented reasons or just because of personal reasons. There previously used to be wars because there was stuff worth taking. We want to take that territory. We want to install renters. We want to install our own guys. We want the moons.
A lot of thing. A lot of times it was the moons, right?
Yeah. Perhaps the most egregious thing that CCP removed from the game.
Also think that back then, maybe even though it was massive pain to make a war happen, right? It was still, you needed to memorize all the what do you call it, the constellations, the ways on how to get where and when, scout all the moons, and you need to put all the effort into the war. But from a warfare perspective, don't you think it was a bit easier as well because alliances wasn't as big back then? Like, I feel like a couple years ago, the overall trend started happening of gathering in these absolute fucking ultra blobs, right? We had big fucking blob alliances and coalitions before, but I feel like over the last 5-ish years or so, or 4 or something, this trend has been happening of building these ultra blocks, right?
It's the optimal way to play the game.
Well, it's the optimal way to have your space be safe, right? And play the game, I guess, right? And just be, very strong and powerful and uncontestable. But at the same time, it means moving this massive force into an offensive war is probably incredibly more difficult than it already used to be, right? And attacking an enemy that has as well this kind of insane size is just another extra level of, holy shit, this is just too much. I can't be fucking bothered.
Yeah, and that's a very common thing, right? If we go to war, let's say we start a war with Fraternity. First of all, Fraternity is maybe a bad example because of time zone tanking, right? That's already a hurdle. Exactly.
Thing, yeah.
Let's just say they're the same size as inits and the same time zone. But then what happens usually is one side is losing and they call in friends, right? Then the other side feels like, oh, you call in friends, we call in friends, and it always ends up the same. It's the exact same thing happens just in pure blind, right? Horde deploys there, and we're like, well, actually, it's too far. Like, we can't be bothered. That was my reaction at least. But then some FCs take some fleets out because it's good fights, right? And everyone's having fun for a while. But then suddenly, like, let's say NC shows up, or goons, it doesn't even matter. And then suddenly the other side brings in friends, and it always develops into that shit show, right? It's always the entire game getting involved if the conflict gets big enough, right? Because everyone is like looking for like to entertain their people, right?
This comes to something that I wanted to talk about. I think it's probably the first time I'll have talked about this concept in a sort of a public way. But there's a huge poison in the game that it's always been there, but it has grown notably in the last 4 years, and it is the culture of shame around losing. The idea that you're not going to stay with your alliance if you lose a few fights, or at least the fear from the leadership that people won't stay around if they lose a few fights. And there's this huge stigma around losing a fight. Now, just losing and losing and losing and losing and losing should identify you as not very good. However, people's utter refusal to accept that sometimes you're going to lose is a poison in this game, and there are so many factors that have built it and built it and built it higher and higher and higher. I personally feel like this isn't something that can happen, and this isn't something that I would recommend, and CCP wouldn't do it anyway. But if kill mails never existed in this game, this poison would be so much weaker. And yeah, I think that it would be a far better game if there weren't kill mails. People lose a Titan, moving it somewhere, and Reddit, or at least various alliances, hold it up and they laugh in the face of that entire alliance that they dared to lose a ship. And it's demoralizing. It is detrimental to any kind of encouragement to PvP, and it encourages blobbing, bat phoning, and everything like that.
Why, like, I 100% see your point, but at the same time, I believe it has always been a thing. And I believe
it definitely has.
Back in the day,
bigger than it's ever been because of the Giga Coalition.
So that's the only point. Like, I don't care about ZK whatsoever, or about like killboard stats, but I like to go back on battle reports and just see how we did. Right? I kind of like that. But
it's
at the same time,
looking and examining. This game is all about planning and examining and looking back and looking forwards and numbers and things like that. Yeah.
Okulo says maybe delayed killboard. Maybe a delayed killboard by like a week. Like, then what?
It's already very useful for the huge volume of free intel. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's not going to fix being shamed for daring to risk.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's part of the game so much that I feel like that makes it kind of real too, right? Like I don't know if I would agree saying it would make the game a better game. I don't know if I would agree.
It's an attitude problem with pretty much all of
the
PvP
I wish people would be more willing to whelp fleets every now and then, and risk Titans and super, but at the same time
lower the stakes a bit so that people are willing to go. The reason you don't see a Titan fleet fighting another Titan fleet is because one side's going to lose.
No. You know why you don't see that? I can tell you why you don't see that.
Because not close enough.
We talked about faxes already. It's usually if you field 100 Titans versus 100 Titans. Let's say one side gets more backup from friends. They have, on top of those 100 Titans, they have 100 Dreads, and they have maybe 200 faxes, right? One side has the advantage. Let's say they duke it out. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, one side kills 50 Titans, the other side kills all 100. That's not what's happening, right? Usually what happens is they engage, maybe they kill one or two, But the second it's getting lopsided and they see they can't win it, they want to extract, and then at the end it's going to be very one-sided, right? Like that fight, you will never see I don't know, want to say you will never see it, but with the support of faxes, they like at some point you don't crack them anymore. You know what I mean? Like at some point it's going to be so lopsided that it's going to be ridiculous, right? Instead of having a healthy trading going back and forth. So like if you field your Titans, it's not like hey, I'm gonna kill a ton of shit with this at the very least. No, there's a very high chance you jump in, and if you make a mistake, you lose everything for almost nothing, right? And that's the problem, right? Those assets, like you wanna like kill some serious shit with it, but it's not the reality of things, right? It simply isn't. Like and I think that's the main reason why we don't see this.
I think if fax wasn't a factor, I still don't think a Titan fleet would, under normal circumstances, fight another Titan fleet. But that's my conjecture on the matter, because losing would be too devastating. The stakes are too high.
Doesn't it also about like what losing the Titan fleet means? All right, I don't think it's just like about the pure loss of ships and ISK and whatever, dude. It's it's about losing your power, right? Because your Titan bomb is the power that you have in your space, right? And if you lose it, then that power is gone. Sure, there's backup Titan, like at this point, because Eve is fucking eights, you know. We have backup Titans and backup fax and backup supers, dude. We got hangars full of that shit, which shouldn't exist. But still, like losing your Titan fleet is kind of like not just like, oh, I lost a bunch of ships, let's go to Jita, buy some new ones, or go to 1DQ or wherever the fuck, people in Nullsec buy their stuff. I don't know. But it's about like you lose that ability to 100% protect your space, right? It's like you have the nuclear bomb and nobody's going to declare war on you because they know you can nuke them. But once you don't have that nuke anymore, fucking everyone's going to march in and be like, this is my land now, fuck off.
Yeah, so I would argue, like, even if you lose a Titan fight, right, Titans on Titans, and you lose that fight, you will never lose all your Titans.
Of course not.
But
because of lag and tie-dye and extraction
and not every one of your lines
tackle
is on it at the same time, right? You're never going to have all your Titans on the field at any time, even if you try it.
Sure. But it would still, losing, 2%,
Yeah.
losing 5% of your Titans would still be a significant disadvantage.
But I would also argue, like, one factor that's very important there is, how do you lose your Titans? Like, are those guys, like, are you losing them stupidly? So your guys are like, what the fuck was that guy thinking? Like, and now my Titan is gone. Is that guy is not going to get a new Titan, you know what I mean? And he's not going to get it anytime soon, and it's not going to get it for you to field again. But if you field your Titans, let's say, you guys are probably aware of the fight that Snuff and GOGG had, like, a while back, I don't know. Maybe a year, half a year? I don't know.
In 01Y or something.
Exactly. It's in Fade or Pure Blind. It's like that was super rare. But those guys that lost the Titan there, I do not believe that these guys were super mad about it, right? That was the best way to lose a Titan. Saying, okay,
amazing.
Yeah, like, okay, it was a great fight. I lost my Titan, but hey, Alliance is taking care of me as good as they can. Probably,
what were
I don't know.
Titan trades on both sides? I think Snuff lost 3, didn't they?
I think Snuff lost 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think they lost. I don't remember actually.
I think
maybe someone can find a better report.
Weird. I just happened across a video of that today while I was just on browsing YouTube.
Yeah, and it was one of the best. I mean, that might have been the best Titan fight ever.
But it's a fluke. It's a fluke.
Exactly. And then
and
people
250 versus 250 Titans as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so
yeah.
1, 2, 3. It looks like it could have been.
They lost a couple.
Yeah, 4 Snuff.
And we saved 2 or 3.
And 4 Ranger Regiment.
Yeah, and we saved 2 or 3. Like, Snuff was not trading well, right?
No.
And I had to bomb them free so they could get away. It was like lucky on their part that we had the right doctrine for the job on that grid right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like.
But essentially, I mean, the title of the video. Let me pull it up. The title of the video illustrates some of the problem here.
Someone's getting dunked, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. 01Y, did you give Tau the Titan keys? It's like, they traded evenly, but the attitude in the video title is,
Well,
who let
but
him lose some Titans?
but I think in this case that's probably a snuff video.
It is, yes.
Yeah, so Snuff is making a little bit of a meme out of Tao there. But they wouldn't do it if it was like a complete shit show, right? They wouldn't do that then. Like, it was alright, it was fun for everyone, and then now he can get memed on. Like, that's very normal. I think that's not a toxic kind of thing or the behavior that we were talking about earlier. I think that's still healthy, fun, like friendly banter kind of thing.
Should we move on to some of the other questions that we thought we might look at?
All right. So my first question was actually, we kind of drifted off for a while here, but my first question was actually, why the fuck would you run for CSM, right? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Right.
I've not been happy with the direction CCP have been taking for the last 4 years, and I don't know if it is because of the previous CSM members. I don't know if it is because of CCP. I don't know if it is because of both, but it's my turn to find out and to see what I can do this time.
So when I have people or see people run for CSM, and I've never been on the CSM, but I talk to a lot of them every now and then. Like, I think people underestimate how much work it is. Right? I do have the feeling you have a healthy idea of what you should be expecting, but still, like, I have to wonder, like, it's a lot of work, and there's a reason why people, like, there's a high number of people quitting after one CSM term. Right? So, like, are you ready for that part? Are you ready to be disappointed?
I can't tell you that. Yes, everything will definitely be perfect, because I haven't been in before. But yeah, I'm aware it's a huge amount of work. And over the last 2 months, I'm aware of having to keep up your profile as well in the run up to an election, unless of course you're a block member, in which case it doesn't matter.
And yes, someone in chat asks, is it volunteer work? Yes, it's completely voluntary. The only thing you get from it is now that one summit, they fly you out to Iceland. That's like what some people might just think, like that's like a big perk. I'm not sure if that's.
I mean, from what I imagine, and from the experiences of current members on the CSM, Vili will probably be able to fill us in because he's in the chat at the moment. But I would imagine it's you go to Iceland, you stay in a cheap hotel, and then you go to an office building and sit in a meeting room for several hours a day, and then you go back to the hotel room and watch some TV.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably what it is.
Yeah. While, of course, thinking through the evening and perhaps having to make lots of notes and thoughts for whatever the subject's going to be the next day.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, they put us in a nice hotel.
Yeah, like I don't think they're going cheap there, right? But
it's Iceland.
So I just heard Brisk's voice coming up here with like the amount of bits. I know how, like, I'm always in contact with Brisk when he ran and he was on the CSM. Like, I know he had his laptop with him, and in the hotel he was preparing and making all that kind of stuff, like to present to CCP and stuff like this. So it's gonna be like it's work, right? That's what it is, and you're doing that for free, right? And I think CCP appreciates that too. Like, I don't think they take that for granted. But yeah, it still is like a lot of work for like potentially nothing, right? They might just completely dismiss your. I mean, points.
I'm not going into this to fix, expecting that Eve's going to be fixed. I'm going into this with the feeling that I want to try to fix some major aspects of Eve, but I don't want to go in to fix every single problem with Eve. I think it's actually very important to have any level of passion for this, to have some things specifically that you want to address, or at least very much try and address, rather than just being hey, vote for me and tell me your problems and I'll bring whatever problem you have to CCP. I think that's just a bit pointless.
Yeah. And Baltrom, you said you're going to run next year, yeah?
Next year?
I think
you can do it, Balt.
I think my opinions about Eve are too dank for the regular voter, I don't think anybody will vote for me. Actually, dude, to be honest, looking at America, maybe I'll get the votes if you're crazy enough, dude. People like that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Mecha got on.
Well,
Baltrom, keep building your streaming audience, and eventually you'll have 2,000 viewers a night, and they can just vote you in.
I'll just say I want EVE Classic, and that's what I will push for as a CSM member. It's EVE Classic, very dank, boys.
You know what? I forgot who it was I was talking about. It's when one of the recent FC chat. Maybe someone in chat can remind me. But we talked about having like the Eve gate open up again, and then have a temporary Eve Classic kind of thing, not classic, you know, but for a temporary time, like a set time. Let's just say, I don't know, 6 months. You can go there. You can only jump in there with a pod or whatever. You have to start basically with nothing, and it's a very condensed area. And
Baltrom
everyone
said
starts
something
from
very
zero.
similar the other day,
Yeah,
actually, didn't you, Balt?
I said exactly that like a couple
Was
weeks
that
ago. I
us?
was like,
Was
yeah,
that
I
us
think we had
talking?
this
Maybe.
discussion at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Mumble. I was very
I
drunk.
know. Yeah, that could have been it actually, but you know, like something in that direction. Like I think that's possible. Like you have to do it right though. So what you don't want to do is like open another Eve, and then in the old Eve there's nothing going on anymore. You don't want
Single
that,
shard
right?
is Eve.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want to get that out of Eve. So if you limit the time from the start, I think you don't run into that problem, right? Because then you can get in, you can take something out, but you can't take like, I don't know, you can't just go in there and build like 100 Titans and come out and say, hey, surprise, let's get you all killed, right? So like I think there is a way to do that kind of thing, and it would be interesting, especially for newer players, because everyone starts in that temporary thing, everyone starts with the same thing, right? So yeah.
I don't know. I think there should be an Eve gate. There should be a new region, right? And you can only get there through the Eve gate. When you pass through, all your SP gets sucked away, and you can never return to the normal galaxy, dude. And you can just play a good game. Very dank. There's no signals there. There's no skill injectors there, dude. It's the promised land, the lands of milk and honey, dude. You fucking go through that Eve gate and play a good game. Yes.
I think it's becoming clearer and clearer why I'm the run running for CSM, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not running for CSM, because nobody's gonna vote for that stuff, you know? Like when they hear me talk, they're like, that guy's fucking retarded, bro.
Yeah, you'd probably get murdered in Iceland and thrown into some glacier or something. Because CCP is, gonna run out of patience.
Emerge 1,000 years later to come back and we even see that every single person now has 1,000 accounts with 1,000 Titans.
Ooh, that's a game I want to play.
And noob ships are now Titans. Everything's just Titans.
Everything has a doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Would not vote for me, dude. I'm sad.
what I always wonder though is like, can't you have almost the same level of influence without being on the CSM? You know, putting your thoughts out there in a good format, which I'm trying right here, right? Like I'm inviting all FCs on basically to get that opinion, because I believe, and it sounds weird because I'm an FC saying it, but I believe the FC, perspective is the most important. They're the guys creating the content for most people, because CCP is effectively not doing it, and they shouldn't, right? They should only give us the tools to create that content.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the content creators.
It brings me to something about one of my big issues is the positioning of citadels. People are a bit mixed in their reception of the concept that I very much feel citadels should only be anchorable at the warp-in points of planets and moons, which would limit the number and limit the positioning of them. And you mentioned the tools for the sandbox, and I liken the unlimited positioning of citadels to, we're all in the sandbox, and with the places where you can place citadels, it's just like giving everybody an excavator at the same time, just ruining the entire sandbox for each other completely with massive tools.
Here's the problem I see with the sandbox right now, as we're talking about sandbox, right? You know, Eve is a sandbox where we all play in, okay? And I see it as like each alliance, at least like in Nosec, because Nosec is the place where there's nothing. You go there and you build something up, right? You build your own army, your own economy, yada yada yada, right? So that's the real, the final step of the sandbox, I guess, right? And I feel like at this point we're at a point where all these massive blocks go into their sandbox and they build a theme park in it, right? So I feel like the sandbox concept is kind of like at a point where it's not really the true. It doesn't feel like a true sandbox anymore. It feels like a place with a lot of different fun parks, and you make a decision to which fun park you go, right? And last summer, when CCP did whatever they did there, right, like the local thing gone, and then they changed sinos and yada yada, I thought it was pretty cool because there was some pretty drastic stuff happening, and people complained about it. But I thought it would be dank if shit like this would happen like every 3 months, right? Like CCP just hits us with a hammer that completely changes the way our gameplay currently works, and fucks us up a bit, right? So we have to adapt to a changing universe rather than just sitting there and shooting red crosses and complaining about not being able to invade the enemy because, losing Titan sucks. So at least there's something to do, whether we get to use our supers or not. But it would be cool if the universe around us would change a bit so we have something to adapt to, right? Rather than sit in our chosen theme park and play essentially a theme park MMO.
But what do you mean with like, it would be nice if the universe would change? Do you mean like space weather kind of stuff or what?
Space what?
Space weather? Because that's one of the things
I don't know
keep
space
bringing.
weather, but like, we're these kids playing in this sandbox, and CCP are the gods above, right? And they can just like, I don't know, do whatever, dude. Like whatever the fuck they can come up with, dude. Whatever, dude. Like I don't fucking care. Just make things happen that force the players to change the way they're currently playing the game. Right?
Maybe the upcoming next part of the Triglavian arc will do something fun for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, but I'm interested in that Upwell ship, obviously. But other than that,
it looks like they're going to have stuff that changes that lowers the security status of high-sec systems.
So
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know, right? Like, and I don't, like, nobody knows exactly what it's gonna do, but like, so you guys are low sec guys, and that's most likely what's gonna happen, right? Is that like the Triglavians are taking their own space, right? I guess they're gonna have some sort of high sec, maybe, or they're just gonna turn some high sec into low sec. But like with that, I don't think, like, I don't know what's gonna, I don't know what their plan is, but what do you say, like, if there's suddenly another low sec region? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Well, it's not going to be that nothing's going to be changed permanently, so you can't actually take notably big forces in for a campaign into a newly lowered security system because next week it's going to go back to high sec, so enjoy being.
Is that how it's going to work?
There, no, well, we have
knows.
no idea. We have no idea what this low sec, this lowering of system security actually implies. Will they stop capitals from going in there so that there's no caps left in there when it goes back to high sec again? There's so many things that obviously CCP must have an answer to, given they're on the verge of releasing this. So it's not just a concept anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff in the making. It looks like, right? So we have to like wait and see what actually they want to do with it. Like the same with the HoboLeaks stuff that came out. I did actually link the picture to you guys, so I'm not sure if you had a look at it. I'll bring it up on screen actually. 1 sec.
Yeah, that'd be good.
There you go. So that's another HoboLeak thing. And I have no idea what that is, for example. So, I mean, we could all speculate.
Is those... is that those, like, we saw some screenshots of some triangle stations. Is that what we think those triangle stations are gonna be?
So I've not, like, yeah, probably. Maybe. I mean, so they were talking about observatories before, right? So the first thing, this dash, whatever it's spelled thing, it looks to be like, so those are space weather generators, it looks like, right? Destructible
looks like
effect
adding
beacon.
wormhole effect to systems. Those last two ones, that looks like player object to modify the stats, modify bonuses on systems.
Yeah, so it looks like that's exactly what you asked for, right, Baltrom? So the sandbox changes.
Well, but we have to put it down, right? So it's not really the sandbox changing. It's again us sort of like increasing giving us more abilities to color our theme park. And I hate Eve being a theme park. I don't think it should be. I think if these weather things should happen, it should be happening completely random, and people have to suddenly adapt to it, rather than us being like, this is our space, and I kind of want to be our space to be like that, because that's like, isn't that like the definition of like just building your theme park?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm not saying this is like the perfect way to go about it, and we don't know if that's actually what they plan on doing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
we have
Hobo
no
League
idea.
stuff, right?
We have
So,
no idea, it's true.
but like, if we assume this is like an anchorable structure, like what I hope, the first thing I hope for, like, I don't know about you guys, but it is that a destructible effect beacon means it's not gonna have a timer, right? So I don't have to go and ref it and then come back the next day. No, I can just kill it right away, and people have to go and defend it right then and there. And it has a certain value, so people want to defend it right then and there.
Yeah.
You know, not only the value in terms of bonuses, but also the value of ISK, right?
I mean, if it's destructible, is it going to be small gang destructible, or is it going to be massive fleet destructible?
Yeah, is it going to have
Because if it's small gang destructible, then it is pointless for any kind of dictating how Sov warfare will be fought, because the big fleet come, take one glance at it, one shot it, and now it's irrelevant again. If it's small gang destructible, then I don't know what the use of it would really give to the people that live there, if it can just get blown up by a 10-man gang of some assault frigates and some hacks.
Also, Pando, don't you think it needs to have a timer, or it needs to be incredibly cheap? Because if it doesn't have a timer, you anchor it, then it's like your EU time zone or US time zone, and then some EU time zone boys come and just clap it. So it can't really be worth much if you want it to have no timer, right?
Well, you can, like, so if it's no timer, like, I see it as an ESS kind of thing, right? So you put it out and you have it active for the time you're active. And then at the end of the day, when you decide to pack your shit in, you grab that stuff and you pack it back in. Right?
Here's something that could make it more interesting, right? Is if this is about to get pretty wild right
Do
now,
it.
so brace yourself, hold on to your chair. This is about to get crazy. What if CCP is, thank you, Bart. What if CCP is looking into expanding Abyssal Fleet PvP and tying it to some kind of Sov or structure thing?
Abyssal Fleet PvP. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that idea.
Well, on the face of it, it sounds stupid. But if we ignore that for a moment, we look at the fact that citadels have 2 timers, right? You got to shoot it 3 times, okay? I was speaking with Olmeca yesterday about moonshot ideas, like things that are almost impossible but are interesting to think about. And what if the armor timer was some size of fleet PvP abyssal event for a timer? Like, oh, this part of the defenses of the structure are kept in some artificial abyssal space to keep them safe from roaming gangs. You know, you shoot it, and then after the first timer, you can use the blob to defend it. But if it goes on to the next timer, then you get to have a 100 versus 100 fight in the abyss to decide on the final fate of the structure.
I don't know, but
it's
like,
pretty wild.
Yeah, I
and
know.
probably impossible to implement. But given that you can still use the blob to defend the first timer if you want, it opens up some interesting stuff.
So I don't think that's a good idea. I don't like any fleet warfare or any PvP necessarily. I don't like taking that out of normal space in general, right? like
Yeah.
matchmaking kind of thing, I'm not a big fan.
Sure. Do remember about Abyssal Space that you always pop back out at a specified, predefined point in normal space. Don't forget that.
Yes, but at the I mean, you know, it is.
How
I mean,
about frigate
then you get
3v3
bombed
in
at the
the
exit.
Abyss, boys? Can we
There we
talk
go.
about
There's a
frigate?
nice
Can we
expansion.
talk
of
about
Abyssal
something
PvP.
nice that we really all can agree on? Can we talk about 3v3 Abyss frigate PvP? That would be very dank, boys. Very dank.
I think I would like that way more than the normal 1v1 thing.
Yeah, I think the 1v1s are very dumb, and also you have to play
The
on your
1v1
own.
is solved. Use
No,
an Iketursa.
No, the Iketursa isn't even the king, right? There's like counters to the Iketursa as well, right? But let's just like, it's always more fun to play with friends, right? The best ship in EVE is friendship. And when you're in there in the fucking Abyss solo in your cruiser, there's no friends with you. It's just you and yourself, dude, right? And playing with friends is always more fun. So I think 3v3 frigate holding PvP, right, would be very interesting. And there's so many different ships filling so many different roles that would also be probably an incredibly interesting meta, right? With like, you can do some RR comms, you can have like maybe, I don't know, a sentinel
Yeah,
with
I
long range
agree.
shield tracking disrupt, you can fly like, you can be some fucking tryhard cunt with way too much ISK and fly triple cambion and just alpha everything, lol, right? But you know what I mean? Like there's just generally, there's so many ships. There's electronic attack frigates, logi frigates,
Yeah, I
like
agree. Yeah,
fucking assault frigates. So much stuff, and
yeah.
that would be really, really dank.
It would be like more people would be doing that than the 1v1 thing. That's for sure. It's
Well, also
it's
because it's probably,
cheaper, and it's three. Don't forget, right? It's 3 people
it's not a lot.
doing it. Yeah, but let's say the 3 of us go into this thing, and then we have the opportunity to do the extra room. Like one of us at least is gonna say like, let's do it, right? So the chances of them actually being like, fuck it, like it's
I like
not
how
that
you did it in a
expensive.
voice to imply that whoever is suggesting it is the idiot of the 3.
But there's going to be at least one. Like in our group, we all 3 would be probably doing it. Right? We're all the idiot. But all I'm saying is, even like Care Bear groups that just farm it with some friends, there's going to be that one guy who's pushing for it, and then they're going to jump into it, and then they're going to have a good time anyway. And then it's never going to be super one-sided, I guess. I mean, there's a potential for that, obviously, right? There's some skilled people in there, and some good setups can dominate in there, obviously, but there's way more room for the meta, as you just described, for the meta to develop and do some stuff.
Which there
As you said,
wouldn't be
I would
for
imagine-
100 versus 100.
I would imagine,
Well,
like
no.
what you just said, right? I would imagine that the random PvE boys, right, would still like just go like, oh, let's fucking go, let's do it, dude. Let's
Exactly.
take 3 frigates and go into the Abyss and have a little guaranteed 3v3 fight. We will not get blobbed. We will not have to fight above our class or whatever, dude. We're gonna fight 3 frigates. Maybe they got more pimp on it. Maybe they're more experienced. Whatever, dude. Let's fucking go. Worst case scenario, you lose fucking 40 mil. Who gives a shit? I don't. Okay. So those people are gonna get some free content. Okay, and they will play this content. And then there's all the fucking small gang PvPers or like mid-scale PvP, like everybody that's interested in PvP will go into it, right? And we'll just fucking do it, because when you're bored, you're sitting around, there's nobody out in your area roaming, or you don't want to take 50 jumps, you don't feel like cracking a Philly and getting fucking blobbed to shit, right? You're just like, let's go some 3v3 filaments, dude. Let's have a little frigate fight. I think that would be pretty dope. And obviously there's going to be the ultra tryhards that are going to fucking be constantly in the Abyss and, push the meta as far as possible. And maybe you run into them and maybe they will murder you, but that's EVE, who knows? Who cares?
I do not believe you have to convince anyone here. I think we all agree that, like, if you have the one-on-one arenas, why not have it for the frigates?
Right? Exactly. Is CCP in the Twitch chat, CCP, why don't
make it happen now?
Free arenas. Tell me, you have the tools. You can clearly make an arena. There's free-man frigate Abyss. Just make a gate so we can go into a 3v3. Thank you very much.
It shouldn't be all that hard to make that happen, right? So yeah, that should be on the #1 list. We get Phantomite elected.
Fruit.
Yeah. We get Phantomite elected, and that's the first thing you need to get done, right?
All right, I'll walk in the office, I'll roll my sleeves up, and I'll say, "Oh, push that button on the wall that makes 3v3 frigate arenas happen."
No, you will push it, dude. You just, when they look away, you push it.
I'll yawn, and I'll lean on it and push it, and then you can thank me later.
Very dank.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. I mean, definitely. And then PJ, who is also running for CSM, by the way, he's said like obligatory bring back AT shout out, right?
And I don't think anybody disagrees with the AT needing to be brought back. CCP
doesn't even disagree.
CCP convict is taking notes. Very dank CCP
He is taking
convict.
notes. I mean, the note should ideally say just bring back the AT. However, I think if there's a very real reason that CCP is unwilling to do the AT, then they should at least develop some tools that players can use to
But
properly run
exactly, that's what
something
they.
similar themselves.
But that's what they're doing, and Convict can maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But so the thing is always for them, they have to think about the dev time and the investment of like dev time and all that stuff, right? That's obviously their currency. So
I'm guessing that
it
the
used to
reason
be
that
run.
CCP isn't doing the AT is because it's not is because they don't feel it's valuable to the game and the company.
No, I do believe, and I think they said that over and over again, that it is valuable to the game and the company. But the thing is, it used to be run by like a very few, like I think one guy, I forgot who it is. Is it Logibro? I forgot. But I think it was CCP Logi. There's a couple guys that were very invested in that stuff, and they were running that like almost on their own time. And I believe one of them left the company, and it's just so much work for what they get out of it, right? It's not like they don't value it, but you have to get like a shit ton of value out of all that work. So they decided they can't do it that way. So their new approach seems to be that they want to enable the player base to do it. But that's going to be a little bit of a longer road, right? Like you can't just hit the button and say, hey, everyone can do ATs now. Like it has to develop all the tools and all that stuff. So I think they're going in that direction. And I think Hilma actually said it not too long ago. But yeah, it will take some time, I guess.
How about we make a GoFundMe?
A GoFundMe for the
CCP.
AT.
For the fucking AT, dude, right? And I don't know, dude. I just want to have AT.
That's another thing, though.
Let's do a Plex for AT and CCP get the profits like a charity.
But that's
to
another.
Specifically put on the AT.
Except they have to use it for the AT, obviously. If they don't, I will come and burn their house down.
Hold on, don't people already give a ton of Plex to CCP for the AT anyway?
What? Oh yeah, you have to pay, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, but
probably
CCP
not
doesn't get any
much
money
in
from
money,
you giving the Plex, right? That's why I said make it a GoFundMe.
Well, taking
dude.
Plex out of the game is essentially paying real money to
Whatever.
Yeah.
AT is probably logistics-wise a lot more work than to just open a fucking gate and the free-man abyssal frigate sites. And then we already have
That
some nice
is
little
definitely
competitive gameplay where all the competitive players, they would love that shit. All the streamers that love that shit would stream it, right? And the good teams would, I mean, I guess, I don't know if you would stream it because then people are gonna like, it's like, queue sniping in other games, and you...
Well, you can delay it. You can hide your queue. You can, like, there's ways around it.
That people would love to watch, whether in video or live stream format. People would love to play it. So I think we need some 3v3 frigate PvP. Thank you very much, CCP convicts.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, so you say, like, start a crowdfund, right? I think that's another, like, it highlights another misconception. I know, but it highlights another misconception about the whole problem. Like, CCP can't just throw money at some problem and fix it, right? I think EVE is just too complex of a game. If it was like, I don't know, League of Legends, it would be probably a little bit easier to fix certain balances and that stuff. This is not like an easy task. Like you can't just pick some dev up who like worked on some other game and then have him fix anything in this game, right? You need so much game knowledge. You can't even get that within a year, I believe, right? To not fuck it up. So just money is not going to fix it. Right, so I don't want to, white knight for CCP here, but I guess.
I mean, I know it's difficult and I know it's expensive, right? And that's going to be it. That they are a business and they do care about the community. It's just maybe we have different priorities than they think we have. And the dude that did it isn't doing it anymore,
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that's the job of the CSM, is that you go in there, you talk to them so they can make that decision. You do not know, like, going on to the CSM, you don't know how much work exactly it is to do certain stuff, even though it's on the top of your list. That might just still be too much like time investment, money investment to make that happen. So it just slides down the list, right? So that's going to be the CSM's job. That's number one job, in my opinion, is to enable CCP to make the right decision right there, to make sure they're going in the right direction with what they can do, right? Like,
to sort of put across effectively what the players' priorities are in how they want the game to be for them.
Yeah. And I think there have been CSM. You can see it in some of the applications that they misunderstand that, that they go in with too much of like ideas what you could do. Like they wanted to, it's going too much towards the game dev, like game design side of things, right? They think they are going to design, like that's not what's happening, dude, right? You have to enable CCP to design their game, right? You can't just do it for them, right? And yeah. And I believe, like from what I read and heard, like I believe you're gonna do a really good job there. So especially with that one question in London, it's already convincing to me. It's like the first guy ever to ask a good question. And
I'm very, very that pleases me very much to hear that.
Yeah, if you do another one of those videos, you can definitely put a quote from me on there.
I tell you what, I think that there needs to be another CCP Eve event that I can go to and ask a different question, because I'm sure so many people are sick of seeing that video of me saying, especially the Jaronix in the 5v5 scrims has played my advert that includes that roughly 10,000 times now. To those poor viewers.
Well, they need to know, right? The word has to be has to get out there. But yeah,
they get 1,324 times apparently.
Very dank.
Yeah, for those who don't know, 5v5 scrims, I've yet to check it out entirely. I do not.
You're gonna miss it. Hurry up.
I'm not 100% aware like how this works, to be quite honest. But I know like a lot of people praise it, so must be good. So people should go check it out.
It is visually beautiful on the stream, and I can tell you, as having played it a couple of times with them behind the scenes, it is a absolute rat's nest of organization that still somehow works, and it is beautiful in its own way behind there as well. Yes, Fed.
More like
I didn't win. I didn't win.
Phantomite doesn't
That's
like
right.
the word feed, dude.
Oh dear, don't get me started on the word feed.
What?
Okay. I feel like the word feed implies that you shouldn't ever lose anything to an enemy.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it goes back to that point, right? That we had earlier.
Yeah.
That, the mindset.
The shame of loss. Yeah, I think that instead of feed, we should say, oh, we fed them a fleet. What? So the tactic is meant to be starving the enemy of any fun whatsoever. No.
Well, that is the strategy nowadays.
That is how it is, fan. That is what it is. You want to starve your enemy, you know?
Exactly.
Like
starving
in
the enemy means also denying your own people fights.
Well, it always depends, right? So it's complicated. Like if you take, for example, if you take the situation with us and Horde or NC right now, it's 2 regions away technically. Technically, what we should be doing is saying like, whatever, dudes, just have fun grinding those worthless structures, because we're not using any of them. They have no value to us. So we could just sit at home and say whatever. Because for us, it's 2 regions away. We have to travel up there to give them a fight, basically, right? That's how it feels. And then they can see us coming, adjust their config, like engage us on their terms, basically. So we don't have any, and they don't deploy because they want to be friends. You know what I mean? They're not deploying for the good fights either. So it's like it's always so complicated to, like where do you draw the line? Like where does a good fight end?
The meaning of feed originally is to just whelp into somebody else rather than doing things properly. But people seem to use the word feed just when the word they should be using is just lose.
Yeah,
It's like grown to encompass just losing.
it's all like it's like micro propaganda, right?
Yes.
That's what you can, where you can put that. Like on Reddit, like there's one comment, they're like, oh, they're fed to these guys. That's like micro propaganda, really, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
think, as Willy said, feed might be a term coming from League or other MOBAs where you feed the enemy team more gold, right? And they become stronger and you're a fucking noob, right?
Well,
But
that's what you
in
do.
EVE, I think feeding works actually as a term as well, right? Because let's say you undock you're a low-sec pirate corp and you run into another low-sec pirate comp, and usually you meme on each other really hard on the Reddits, right? I mean, that's where the real wars are fought, as we all know, okay?
Morale,
And
yeah.
you feed them a fleet, okay? It's not about you feeding them the fleet. You feed them ammunition to shoot on you on Reddit, right? Because they're gonna make that BR post. They're gonna say, "You guys fucking suck. We slam dunked you so hard. Go back to fucking Brave Newbies and learn how to play the game." Lol, right? So you feed them ammunition to shoot at you on Reddit.
Yeah, you feed the morale. And like big wars,
Shouldn't
it's
be
always about
feeding
morale.
Frederick von Holbal.
Huh?
You shouldn't be feeding von Hole.
That was a tactical feed, okay? To boost his morale.
Alright. A large part of the difficulty in suggesting balanced design ideas as a player is that often you're directly competing with the far simpler, obvious, and usually reductive, not additive ideas. Dude, you have to cut your questions a little shorter if you want me to read them, right? So you then add loads of discourse just to try and justify the value of the idea.
I mean, are we talking about things like the thing that people have said for the last about 10 years? Oh, give us a frigate that does massive damage to capitals but can't hit anything else. It's like special design things rather than actually just balancing the game. I feel that an example of this is like the assault damage control. It's a special case module to try and it has to elevate some ships out of uselessness. But I think it's just shying away from greater, possibly more complex balance by just adding this special case module into the game, and I don't like that kind of balance.
You know what? I'm not too much against the soul damage control. If I have to be honest, I think the idea is
against it. I just think it's representative
nice.
of a bit of a band-aid to a problem.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly they were thinking, but I kind of like the idea of it.
But...
Yeah, but it kind of further boosted the whole hack meta, right? So I don't like that part. Like we all want to see battleships, in space.
But essentially, they made it so hacks have to fit that module to be usable. So it feels like you've lost some choice there, in a way.
Yeah, that is true actually, right?
Yeah.
Because it still has like almost the same function as a normal damage control too. Like if that wasn't the case, I think people wouldn't use heaviest like soul damage controls all that much, right? If you would like have a way weaker normal damage control instead, right? I think people would, think about that twice then. Maybe there's some balancing that needs to be happening. Yeah.
Do we know what the Sappy boys are gonna be all about?
The Zappy boys?
Nope.
Yeah. We have no idea what their very defined, thought out, and balanced use in this game is going to be.
And
the ship with the
definitely not going to be a
weapon?
special case module.
Well, I mean, we already kind of know they're probably gonna shoot a new gun, right? Which is the Zap, which why it's, in my opinion, the Zappy boys, right? Or chain lightning cunts. Right?
Don't think
The
they'll
Zap?
that, but go on, yeah.
But
is that what people call it? Yeah, is it official? Baltrom called it, all right. The Zap.
I mean, I called it Zappy boys.
I really hope that CCP gives it a long name where the acronym is ZAP.
Exactly, very dank.
That would be good.
Conversations right here. Take notes, right?
You heard it here. Those are the Zappy boys. No, but seriously, is there at all?
Hold on, we can do this. It would be the zero angular power pulse.
No, but I mean seriously, we have no idea what they're good for yet, right? At all, or do we know
Well,
what they're gonna do?
I mean, if let's just imagine what they do, right? They're gonna deal a certain amount of damage to a certain amount of targets. From the video, it's like 4 targets. So what you're gonna have
it's
is
a chain thing.
Yeah, a cruiser size.
They're probably gonna say, "Oh, it's a mini version of the Keepstar."
The Keepstar Doomsday. Yeah. It's
Scaled
gonna
down
deal.
to fit
If
on
I
the
have to
film.
take a guess, it's gonna
The
deal.
ships look pretty small, by the way, in my opinion, right?
Yes.
It's gonna be
That's okay.
signature based too, I believe.
No.
I mean,
But is it
I
gonna
cannot
apply
imagine.
big to small things or big to big things, you know?
Well, it's gonna be probably signature based, so it's gonna deal less damage on smaller signatures, but then also it's probably gonna be mass based, so it's gonna always be bouncing to the biggest mass, right?
Very dank.
I believe, right? And then
It's all conjecture at this stage, really, though, isn't it?
what I wonder is, does it have an AoE effect, like a lance from a Titan? Because
Flipping hope not.
well, I kinda do hope, because like otherwise you have 100 of these, they whoop in and they fucking chain lightning everyone away, and that's like the end of
The
it.
Zappy boys.
The Zappy boys just swing in and fucking murder everything. I can totally see that happen. Like, why wouldn't you do that, right? So I hope there's gonna be like some AoE effect, so you can't just
chain heal as well. Very
take
dank.
like 100 of these. What was it? Chain?
Chain heal, dude.
The chain heal. Oh god, no. Logi ships should be immune to the zap. God damn it, Rain. Always with the Logi take of things. But yeah.
I'm very interested to see what it turns out to be, and
I'm actually
how it
very
functions.
curious about them. I'm actually incredibly curious about these ships, what they're gonna do, because
Same.
a fucking AoE module, right? I mean, it's not a classic AoE; it is a chain lightning. I mean, that's what we think at least.
It's
right?
better balanced that way, I think.
Huh?
I think it's
Sorry?
easier to balance that way.
Well, I mean, we thought triangle guns are easy to balance, right? And then there was a dreadnought that dealt 60k DPS, and everyone was like, boo-hoo. And the next day it is nerfed to the ground, where it is now currently the worst dread to fly by far, right? A spoolie dread boy will never out DPS a Naglfar currently, like even at max spool. Good job, dude. Lol.
I've got a blueprint from Hanzo actually. And then I looked into like, should I build it, and I just maybe just roam around on it in it with stream or whatever. But then it's like, it's so expensive. Like, it doesn't make sense. Sorry, but like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Maybe you have to like, you can't just activate it. Maybe they're going to make it so that it links to your mic, and you have to utter a spell. You have to say Wingardium Leviosa into your mic, and then it will start doing it.
And someone says Kiki Zappers when? No, that's gonna be Zappy Stukas, you know? I'm pretty sure. Like, the Kikis aren't gonna have anything to do with the Zappies. It's gonna be Zappy Stukas. We're gonna fucking Stuka in and then Zappy everyone. It's like, it's gonna be glorious. Like, boosh boosh, zap zap, and boom, be gone, my friend.
Oh, I know
wait
what it's going to be. I know what it's going to.
something.
I know what it's going to be.
Happy
It's
boy
going
food
to be
cookie.
CC. It's going to be anti-Triglavian weapon, and it's going to combat Kiki fleets.
No! Stop it! It's only gonna bounce on Kikis. Well, it is like lore-wise, it probably fits, right?
Given that they are.
Hey, I haven't run any Kiki
developing
fleets.
it to fight the Triglavian invasion.
I haven't run any Kiki fleets for 2 weeks, guys. I'm taking a break. Right? No need to nerf anything, right? Just saying.
But
if you
something right here, though, right? That CCP is always fighting the hive mind of the EVE players whenever they introduce anything to the game, because they could have like the most best balance idea about the Zappy boys, right? They're like, the Zappy boys, the way we know how this is what they should be used for, and there's this incredibly well balanced. I'd love to see that in my game, right? And then some fucking knobhead spends 48 hours in Python, right? And it's like, I'm gonna break the fucking meta with this shit, lol, right? And then CCP is like, fuck off, you know. And
I know, I'll overheat my fucking Python when these come out.
yeah, everybody will, obviously, right?
Like, they have great
But I'm
potential.
excited. I'm actually very excited for Zappy Boys. Not gonna lie, absolutely.
Same here. You know, when that trailer came
By
out.
the way, whoever it is that is maintaining Python and pushing out updates so regularly is some kind of absolute hero
That is
of
true,
this
actually.
game.
Yeah. Who is that? Actually, you know what?
It's Russian boy. What's his
He's a
name?
Russian
Kadesh.
guy. Yeah, I
Kadesh
know.
Princess.
Yeah, I had actually Tiana, who's also Russian, actually contact the guy asking for like a night version of it, because like we're all staring at this fucking white screen all the time. But yeah, he said he can't make it happen.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, that dude is on point. Like he's fast with it, right? That's what I always
Yeah.
hated about EFT. That dude was always like so late to it, and then you didn't know if it ever's coming out. And then I had to I changed from EFT to Python for a while, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't use it. It's so similar, and I
Until you
couldn't
figured it out.
Exactly. I still
then it's
couldn't get
natural.
used to it. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
still feel like I'd prefer the old EFT. That's what I still feel like. I feel like the whole tap thing and
I know. We gotta let it go though. We
yeah.
gotta let it go. It's EFT has been over for a long
Yeah.
time, and we just gotta set it off on a barge and fire a burning arrow at it as it floats off.
You know what? A lot of people actually nowadays use just the in-game like ghost fittings thing.
Blech.
Nah, I can't do it.
The ghost fitting, I mean, it's kind of nice sometimes to when you do abyssal modules, right? Like, let's say you want to fit up like some elite PvP ship, right? And you want to check like with the current abyssal modules available in Cheetah whether it will fit without having to painstakingly fucking copy these stats into Python, right? I think it's very good for that. But in Python, you can just see so much more. You can see like how much DPS is a Megatron actually going to deal to my active tanked fucking Hyperion here, because you can't simulate enemy ships shooting you with a specific damage profile onto yours
and links
profile
and implants and
apply
everything.
links and apply
yeah.
implants and apply drugs. There's like, I mean, I'm not saying we need this in the game because Python has it all. I mean, that's just the reason, I guess, why.
Well,
I think game is
exists,
great.
right?
In-game is brilliant for things you need to do quickly. But if you're doing any kind of serious theorying, you need the responsiveness of a native program on the computer rather than the half-second lag of everything in an MMO, which simply isn't possible.
The thing is also, Convict points it out. No, not directly, but like it's good to have something in the client. Also for like
Exactly.
newer players, like they don't even know about Python maybe. Or they're not willing to download Python. They just want to stay in game and stuff. So everyone has that option. So options are always great. And like I'm not shitting on ghost fitting. I just can't I cannot imagine getting used to it. Like I'm finally used to Python after like I don't know 5 years. It's like
I was a late adopter
funny
of Python. Yeah.
Funny
Same
story.
here.
Fant, until not too long ago, funny story. Fant was still using Python and posting me fits he theory
EFT.
crafted.
EFT.
And he was using EFT and he posting me fits that he theory crafted, links them to me. I'm like, Fant, that shit doesn't fit. This ship doesn't have that many gun slots anymore. This ship has no power grid now. He just links me fits that don't fucking work in the game anymore.
No, I changed the second it was clear that EFT is not getting updates anymore. Then I
The
forced
Armageddon
myself.
fits missiles now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I missed the laser Armageddon.
But yeah, I know the feel, bro. Like it's hard to fucking get used to Python, but you made it. Like everyone can make it, but I'm always
Python
gonna
is
miss.
just, I mean, as
EFT.
well as being correct, Python is also just more powerful, given the increased complexity of the game.
Yeah, and I think like all these new things, like Abyssal mods and all that stuff, I think he did a good job in implementing those, right? Like it's not that easy, right? So,
I'd love to see a far more responsive. I know people have done it before, but it hasn't felt snappy. I'd love to see a really responsive Python-like web-based tool.
I think there is Python-based web tools like.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel as snappy. It's not as responsive as.
But will it ever be as a web tool?
Depends how much data it downloads to your computer.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
But is it worth it? You know, if someone wants to do it, like there's already Python, so most people will probably say like, yeah, I don't need it anyway.
Hey, EFT was going to live forever, and then it didn't.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I mean, the second Python.
We can't expect this guy to maintain Python for 20 years.
Yeah, if the guy from Python goes forward and says like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna stop developing this, I'm sure someone's gonna step up and do a web version or like a different version of Python. Who knows?
Yeah. Rest in peace to all those pos fitting and pos calculation and pos monitoring tools that people spent so much time coding. Things change, don't they? The amount of effort people have put into this game is beautiful.
Yeah, and the third-party tools, there's so many of them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays I don't use any third-party tools other than Dotlan and Python, I believe.
I'm using Evemon because that got resurrected and made completely modern.
I never used that for a long time.
But you're right. Actually, now I think about it, if I get like a low skill queue thing, it actually pops up on my phone on the current app that CCP's got out now. So I don't really need Evemon because that's all I use it for. Really, is for reminding me when my queue's about to run out. I'm running out of things to train these days, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes I forget, and it's just like for like a couple of weeks that the characters are just sitting around not training anything and shit. Right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that is annoying, I think, with the alpha state. Like, even if your character or your account goes into alpha for just like a couple hours, it stops the queue. Right? It stops the queue, and then I lose the entire queue. Like, for example, on a Titan character, you might have just stuff queued up for like 2 months, 3 months at least.
Well, you can do it. You can arrange your queue and start it from the app on your phone.
All right, I might look into that. Set it up once and then
just grab the official CCP app, and you can literally manage your skill queue on the phone. It's basically flawless.
All right, yeah, I might just do that actually.
And of course, as of a couple of weeks ago, you can trade Plex in Jita on your phone now as well.
I'm not a fan of that. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, we can all train Sappy Boys, dude.
Hey?
Yeah.
But actually, we won't because
yes, bingo. Thank you. Something for me to train. Now, if we could have made the specialization skill books a little bit cheaper than $500 a piece, that would have been great as well. But I know what you mean.
We've been collecting so much SP now that as soon as the Sappy Boys get released, we just have them immediately to 5, dude. Fuck.
No, I'm just gonna train it au naturel, like God intended.
Yeah, Via actually brought it up. Siggy and Pathfinder, yep.
Yeah,
those are powerful
tools. Incredibly complex tools.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Somebody brought up Alliance Auth and the various Discord plugins.
Yeah,
huge amounts of effort.
We're using Pathfinder a lot, obviously.
Effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what alliances aren't using Discord really now? Even if they're not actually using Auth for it.
It's not an Eve specific tool, and I believe without Discord, Eve would be a better game. I talked about that before.
I think without Discord, Eve would be a better game, dude.
I think without Killmailed, Eve would be a better game. I think without a lot of things. Do you know what would be really cool? And I'm going to make a relation to another game here. Imagine, and this is literally impossible, right? For so many reasons. Imagine if you sent your scout out to check something out, and he got killed, and he just dropped off voice comms, and you're like, what happened to him? We need to
Fade to Black.
What happened to him? Yeah, there's this
shooter Fade to Black.
There was a mod for there is, I imagine, a mod for Armor 2 and probably 3 as well, called Realistic. I can't remember what it's called, but it was about realistic radios, and it would like tie into TeamSpeak, so you'd be chatting, doing all of your military role play with people on TeamSpeak, and but it focused on like radio line of sight in valleys and stuff like that. So that your radio you wouldn't be able to communicate if you didn't have line of sight or if you're too far away, that kind of thing there. Of course, that requires that everybody, including the people you're playing against, be playing to those rules and not cheating by just using normal TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
But
you'll never have that in Eve. That's like nobody's playing by the rules, my friends.
Exactly.
I mean, everyone's playing by the rules, but everyone's bending them as much as they can, right? That's maybe the way to go. The way to describe it.
Yeah, like Convict says, it would rely on the other guys.
Yeah.
Promising.
I mean, I bet you would still find a lot of people, even in Eve, that are willing to, play under the rules, but it will never be everyone.
No, people would cheat. People willing to play by the rules would still cheat.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun idea. Yeah. And then looking at the list, like what else did we miss? Like I don't know, we jumped from back and forth. Like I had a little bit of a list, but one of the things we didn't talk about was like the faction fort thing from Hobo Leagues, right? So
Yeah,
faction
why don't
fort.
they go into? Who
Yeah, I
cares?
don't.
Somebody on Reddit
Yeah.
made an interesting post. They were like, "Oh, maybe it's so that of the few faction forts that are in their original locations, the current owners of them would just blow them up to get like a decade's worth of loot out."
Ooh.
Ooh, very dank. That is actually ooh.
Yeah,
But they can still be killed though, right?
they can still be killed. But
Oh no,
it'll be
no,
active.
actually
if they don't go-
abandoned.
if they don't go into
Yeah,
abandoned, they
I
don't
never
drop
mind.
the loot.
Yeah, I'm
They
sorry.
don't drop the loot
So
if
what?
they don't go abandoned.
Let me explain to the actually to everyone listening, and like some people might not be aware, right? So CCP is introducing the abandon mode for citadels, and that means all citadels that are not being fueled for, I believe it's 7 days, they go into the state, and then they can be killed right away without a timer, right? And it's gonna drop. Like, is it 50%?
That's in there.
Everything?
Oh,
It's gonna drop
damn.
everything.
Oh, Pando, look at this picture. Put that picture up.
Is
This
it
says
everything?
this is a picture that's titled 18,000 cans of loot from Null-M9 on Sissy.
Yikes, dude.
Oh my god.
That's an amazing picture.
But what citadel is that on Sissy?
The Null faction fort.
But they can't faction fort. It can't die though. Like I mean, it can die, but it can't drop.
So
That's Sissy. That's like before the. I imagine that implies that this is before that amendment to faction 4.
let me kind of finish the explanation, right? So the abandoned state means they can be killed right away, and it's gonna drop loot, which is usually not the case anywhere, right? So I'm a big fan of something dropping.
Abandoned citadels.
So abandoned citadels will have that. Now faction forts, for people who are wondering why is faction forts such a big deal, they used to be stations. They have never been forts before. Like they got what do you call it? Changed into fortizars at some point. So all those assets in them would then drop probably, right? So that dude on Reddit is probably right that they have to avoid the abandoned state on them, because otherwise that is exactly what will be happening. Like these very old stations that are still up right now as faction forts would then drop, like, I don't know how many years, 15 years worth of assets, right? That some people thought they're safe forever, right? And then locked off and stuff like this. Like old players, for example, from like, I don't know, 10 years ago, they quit the game and they have like a shit ton of their assets still in maybe not in Providence, because all those faction forts are gone, I believe. I don't know. But maybe somewhere in some station, right? And now it's a faction fort, then it gets killed and everything drops. That's a little bit of a problem, right? So yeah, but that screenshot is that's ridiculous. Even Rage didn't look like this. Just saying.
I think it would crash my PC.
It would probably.
Posted the I imagine it was from Sissy, but they posted the mail that they received because they had items in a citadel that was 24 hours from going abandoned, and the mail they got was like, it's 24 hours until this citadel is abandoned. You've got stuff in there. You can still asset safety it now, but after this 24 hours, you won't be able to. Okay, so that essentially means that this upcoming change to the game means that it only punishes people who don't have as much time to play the game as some other people.
Yeah.
It only punishes people that can't log in.
Yeah.
Or don't log in because they don't play the game anymore.
Or some days they can't just play for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that now get punished.
Everybody else can still asset safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there should be a mail that something goes into abandoned. I think when it goes abandoned, GG, you fucked up. Didn't pay the bill.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if that's a good idea, or if it has any great impact. I hope, like from recent changes, I hope they're putting more thought into it. You know, and like, I mean, from recent changes, I feel like I have a good feeling that they thought this through and they're gonna get it right the first time. Not like the introduction of Citadels, right? Where it came across a little sloppy. I think so. Let's just hope for the best, and
I mean,
it's
somebody's
right
saying in chat, I think it's good. Everything has to be destroyable, even if you don't play. Yeah, absolutely. But this change here far more adversely affects people who can't be on the game every day. The reason that asset safety was there in the first place is because, unsurprisingly, if you lose everything, you might not fancy playing anymore.
Yeah, but does it have to be everything, right?
And yet with this change, that's now a very real risk, and it adversely affects people who aren't able to play every single day.
But at the same time, though, if asset safety was never a thing, people wouldn't put all their eggs in one basket. Like, for example, you wouldn't
maybe
put
it should
all
never
your
have
assets.
been a thing in the first place.
Exactly, and that's the problem. If it was never a thing, it would be different now. But because asset safety was a thing, people bank on it, and now you take it away. Yeah. So it's like it's the mix of both things, right? Like you can't just first give everyone asset safety and then say surprise, it's gone. Right? That's not good, right? So asset safety, if it wasn't a thing in the first place, I believe that would have been better. Right?
But we've got it now. And when I talk about Citadel should only be anchorable at planets and moons to limit their numbers, some people are like, but what about all the stuff that's already out there? And people have and when we talk about like removing asset safety, people are and I talk about but what about the stuff that's already out there? And people are like, nah, destroy it all. It's just like, what do people think on this concept? Do they want everything destroyed, or do they not want everything destroyed? And it seems to be the extreme both ways. There's no in between.
Yeah. I always try to like be somewhere in the middle, right? I feel like Citadels need to be limited. Like they should have been limited right at the start.
Yes.
I don't understand like why didn't they see it coming, but it is what it is. It's not too late though, right? So I feel like they should limit it, not maybe 2 planets. It's probably one way to limit it per planet, but I believe you should limit it per size and type of the Citadel, right? So you have a certain number of slots per system.
Get this concept right. I was talking about this to somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but they came up with a far more interesting solution, which is systems having a certain amount of bandwidth for Citadels.
Isn't that what Pando just said?
Yeah, like it's kind of basically the same, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's exactly what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I believe is though, like one region, how many keeps does a region need? You know what I mean? Like
2 keepstars per system, dude.
Yeah, it should be like one keepstar per region, 2 keepstars per region. Like I believe that would be probably a good balance, right? Like maybe 3, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a number there.
Who gets to anchor the keepstar in the region? They have to own 51% of the systems?
No. So the thing is, if you anchor a keepstar, it has a date when it was anchored, right? So the oldest keepstar will always be up. If I now say, okay, to attack your keepstar, I need to anchor mine, because that's the platform I want to stage from. I usually would do it from the fort, but let's say I want a keepstar, right? I want a keepstar in that system. So that means I put mine up, and then it would have a lifetime of 10 days. For example, you can make it happen within those 10 days, for example, right? So you have like a chance or 2. If you fail to re-ref it or so, you can do it one more time, and then you have to make it happen at a time. Other than that, it should go into abandon mode or whatever, right? And then it can be killed in one swing, and it's just gonna stay there. So you could, I feel like that's probably the way to go. And then you like attackers still have a platform to go with. It's just time limited, and then also after the time it should be then abandoned, right? With that new mode, it would just fit right there, and then it would be good content, I believe.
Remove damage caps. Thank you very much.
Damage caps
never have been implemented in their current form in the first place, but yeah.
I agree 100%. We could, I think, so how much time? It's actually almost 2 hours, right? I wanted to actually do these always like 1.5 hours now.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2 hours is a
But
good
we're
good
all
time
far
for.
too good at talking about the truth.
But we could talk probably 2 hours just about Citadels alone, right? Like, I think they are
That'd
a
be great.
major issue, and they are the hardest issue or the hardest thing to get right, I believe.
That's why I picked Citadel geography or the positioning of citadels as a particular issue to talk about, because there's too much. There's too
Yep.
much.
Yeah. I mean, to just run over it, also like the whole Titan and Super thing, it came also from Citadels. Because by Citadels, it was safer, easier, cheaper, less risk to build Supers and Titans. And then Rawcards on top of that, they just accelerated this issue so much that we have the situation that we have now, right?
Yeah, Sotios versus pauses for production is a big difference, you know, when you want to build a Titan.
Yeah.
Especially when you can anchor it 1,000 kilometers off your keep star.
Yeah. PJ says keepsters are too cheap to fuel. Yeah, that might be a good point there too.
Yeah,
I
actually,
think it's
something I don't
irrelevant.
understand. Why does the fuel cost of the structures go down with the size of the structure? Like, the bigger the structure is, the easier it is to upkeep.
It
Isn't that the
does?
way it currently? I think they have like bonuses on them on how much fuel you need to put into them, right? And I think the bonus is bigger, the bigger the structure is. I think, unless that got changed recently, and that didn't make any sense to me at all.
I'm
I would
not
have
sure
to
if that's
actually
how it
check
is.
it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm fucking dumb, but I think that's the way it goes. I don't know. Maybe Twitch chat knows better. Let me see. Whatever. Who actually cares?
Yeah. I mean, Citadels, right? I believe they're looking at them now, but that will take some time to figure that. That's a riddle for you to, you know.
I'll tell you what. Well,
No,
it's
it
been
actually seems to be the same. Never
it's
mind.
been
Never
4
mind, never mind.
years.
I think it's the same. I think it's the same on all, I guess, now.
It's been 4 years, so I would imagine that those upcoming ideas must be absolutely amazing after this long, not doing anything about it.
Well, it's not like they've been sitting on their ass for 4 years only, right? I mean,
Well, nothing's changed,
I don't know. I think at
on,
the
not
moment,
in terms of Citadels, yes.
and nothing has slowed the proliferation.
yeah, well, at least something good is happening now. I think at the moment, like, at least it seems like CCP is going into a direction that most players in EVE appreciate, right? I think the overall emotional state towards CCP is more of a positive one, right? Like, CCP is doing things, and we as the players are like, hey, those are actually good things, you know? I think, right? No? I don't know.
Yeah.
What they're doing is good things, but it's like
it feels like
a slow
things
process.
are happening, right?
Here's a big stone that we need to move, and they're chipping away bits of gravel at the moment. It's like, no, hold on, go
Yeah,
get the sledgehammer.
Yeah, I wish they would do bigger changes, obviously, but yeah. I'm happy with the direction, right? Like what I hope is happening is they're going in the right direction, they're feeling it out, and they're gaining confidence. And then they see themselves more in the position of, okay, we know how to, approach this now. We can do bigger, more impactful changes in certain areas, right? Like Citadels, for example. Let's ease into that, and I think that's right. If you play too much with asset safety and all that stuff, you can do an insane amount of damage too, right? So
if
it's good
this
that
is
they're
the
careful.
argument for careful, slow consideration, then sure, that is undoubtedly the best way to introduce eventually big changes to a game. However, that clearly wasn't slow and steady. Clearly wasn't what happened when Citadels were introduced in the first place, and when Capitals were all changed all in one go. That is not a slow, measured set of changes to the game.
But like you said, that's a couple years ago, so
yeah,
their approach has changed. And I think you can tell that they have a little bit of a different approach. Not only I think the game, like how they develop, their approach has changed, but also the approach to the CSM. I think who actually had a great impact on that was Ixuki, like who we pushed for last year, because he did the presentation and they realized, oh, there's great value in that, right? So they asked the other CSM guys also to do more presentation kind of stuff, and I feel like there's a couple things they change in their approach to it. So I believe that's why back in the day, you can say when Citadels came in, that was different, right? So we'll see. But yeah, guys, we had 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would ask one question though, and it's, who do you vote for CSM, right? Like, I know Baltrom, it's Phantomite, right? But like,
I'll vote
who
myself.
else? Who else is running for CSM that you guys would also support besides Phantomite?
I've been having some very good conversations with Laraseko. He has
Warm-up guy.
different approach to some of the same issues, and I very much feel that he wants to do a little bit more iteration on these mechanics. I feel that these mechanics need a revolution, not iteration or evolution. I feel like it needs a revolution in redefining the roles that structures and capitals play. However, I do like the small changes that he suggested. I think that he's on the correct path. I think he has the right intentions.
All right. What about you, Baltrom? Another
Well,
candidate you like?
my votes are very much buyable, right? And that means I'm torn. Okay, obviously my first vote goes to Phantomite, but my second, where do I put it, right? Villy has given me a Vagabond skin, and Brisk SRP'd my last Vagabond when they killed it with the Macarial blob. Brisk was on my stream. I was like, hey, Brisk, you just killed my Mac, and you SRP'd? He SRP'd it, right? So I'm kind of torn. Brisk or Villy? I don't know. I'll roll the dice, I'll flip a coin, and then...
Do you think
one
that
of
they
those
need
gets
to
it.
maybe show you what else they can do so that you can better decide?
I think more ISK in my wallet is always a really good argument, to be honest. I'm not even joking. I don't know. Like, I don't know who to vote. There's so many people this year. Like, when I was watching the CCP presentation thingy, when was it? A couple days ago, right? Like, who is like lining up to, become CSM? It's so, at least to me, it feels like it's so many people, right? And I don't know who to vote for, except for people that
yeah.
give me that big ISK.
I can talk about some of those candidates, but before I do that, there's actually a question from Convict.
Yeah.
Phantomite, what do you think CCP did right? Because I think that's a big thing always, right? There's a set of changes coming out. There's like 20 changes, and you don't like one. That's or like the players don't like one. That's what we're talking about, right? So we don't talk about these other changes then. Yeah.
I have one.
What did they do right?
Slightly off-topic thing that I think has been absolutely incredible. I know that FanFest in Iceland is the absolute classic, but the World Tour was what really enabled me to attend a proper CCP created event, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was a much lower barrier of entry to essentially be at a FanFest. I'm planning to at the first available opportunity head to Eve London in its original form when it goes back to being a pub meet essentially. But this event was like a mini fan fest that I could I had time to attend. It didn't cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds to attend it, and it was fantastic. And I would imagine that everywhere CCP went, people had similar feedback. It was so accessible compared to Iceland. But at the first available opportunity, I very much look forward to eventually attending Iceland Fan Fest as well. But the accessibility of this was brilliant, absolutely genius.
I was so hyped for this year's FanFest. I can't even, But they did the right call early on, right? They did that right. Like, they saw that coming, and like, you know what? I actually, Convict knows, right? I picked it out in our channel because he has a child in it. He saw me ping out the first day when they canceled it. I said like, okay, who is coming anyway? Because on day one I was like, it's not that, like, I felt like they just don't want to be like to have that responsibility on them, and it's not that much of an issue. But then like I took just the next day I was already like, guys, never mind, like, let's forget about it. Like, this looks like it's developing in that particular direction. And at that point all the other events, like, everything was still going forward, but CCP canceled FanFest. And I feel like there was a really good call to do that as early as they could, right? Because people making plans and all that stuff. So good thing, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a shame, but it was absolutely the right thing to do, and they didn't mess around and waste time. They went with a difficult, correct decision.
Yeah.
For everybody's benefit.
Yeah, and then
It was
so.
good.
But
speaking of balance changes that CCP did, the Sino change there, I think, sticking Sinos on recons for capitals was a pretty cool idea. I think that there's definitely room. Convict, would you take back this piece of advice to expand upon those Sino changes? Can we change the industrial Sino to a travel Sino and allow normal caps to jump to it, except they just can't activate any modules or launch any drones or do anything except dock for 10 minutes or
why is that?
something like that.
That's a weird suggestion.
So that I can actually just move ships across the game in a non-combat way without it being without having to sometimes expend 400 mil every single jump.
Request denied. Next.
I actually want Sinos to be back on everything because I miss the days when I was
No way.
No, dude, look, especially in low sec, right? I've killed and caught supers.
Remember, everybody, I'm the one running for CSM, not Baltrom.
Alright, Fantas running for CSM. I'm just an idiot, okay? Right? I've caught and killed supers with fucking Condor Sinos, dude, you know? Right now, when somebody sees a recon on D-scan, you know, oh shit, that's a Sino, because that's everything a recon, Cloaky recon is at the moment, right? Back then it was like a Rupture, a Condor,
that's all right.
a Slasher, anything could light a Sino. It was so fucking dangerous, dude, you know? You fucking attack that Rupture, suddenly Sino goes up, and you're like, oh shit, boy.
No, another request.
Me with the,
straight up denied.
I thought it was pretty cool, dude. I don't know.
But essentially, Convict, 1 second. If you're moving a large group of people, the value of that Sino is virtually zero. If you're a dude just trying to move your stuff around the game, the cost is full. So really, and here's a phrase I hate, it only hurts the little guy.
No.
I think for the game itself, the Sino change was cool, but I just liked lighting Sinos in my
Also, how hilarious would it be to catch people unsafely moving caps through a cap fleet through the cheap Sinos, and they can't even fight back because they've elected to use the cheap Sinos.
It would be hilarious, yeah, but I don't know if we get much out of that one. But yeah, guys, like, unless anyone has like a really good question, like preferably if you highlight it, because I can't really follow chat always when I'm doing these, right? Unless someone has a really good question, I would say we end it right here. And thanks for coming on, both of you. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Oh,
and
Phantomite. First question.
It depends on how much ISK you send me, MD.
I don't think you can do it on stream, dude.
Convict, you can see my glasses. These are actually a brand new pair of glasses, but probably not as cool as the clear vision glasses.
How is Balt's foot? What about your fucking foot? Someone said it earlier. Like, what? What's going on with your foot?
It's still broken, dude, and it hurts like hell. I can't even sit properly all the time. I have to sit in a really weird way, which means gaming is really hard. You know, you can't pro game when you have to sit like an
tell
idiot.
people how you injured your foot, because it's one of the questions in the Eve quiz that Baltrom will be streaming tomorrow at 2100.
There you go, Eve quiz 2100.
How should people know how I broke my foot?
I know how you broke my foot, and I've written it in as a question.
Yeah.
Well, people can take a guess. It's like extra points.
It will be very fun, Baltrom. The rest of the questions are actually EVE Online related.
Okay.
Easy and deep cut questions.
Yeah.
Also,
for those
2100 on Baltrom's channel.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Baltrom is obviously a streamer. I said it at the start, but for those who just tuned in, so you should check him out. And I would say, see you guys around.
Little royal wave.
Yeah, the royal wave did. Hello. Goodbye.
I need a new.
It was very fun.
Yeah, it was good shit.
Awesome.
I need a new thanks for watching screen. I think I have to work one out. Oh, one sec, guys. Who do we host? Someone give me a name. Give me a name. Come on, let's host some new stream or so. Who? Alright. Phantomite got someone. Alright. Is it a friend of yours? Alright, we're gonna raid a friend of Phantomite, guys. He's not streaming Eve, but hey, nobody's perfect, you know. Hey, maybe you should convince him to start Eve then. There you go, guys. Alright, see you guys around.